I've always had one for my shows. You know that. So, all right, everyone, welcome. It is Thursday. So, Brian here. And of course, I'm joined with my co host,
That
Daniel Peyton. His name is plastered
all behind me. Yep.
all behind you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah, it's not that I'm pretentious. It's because this is my signage when I'm at conventions, and so when people are walking by, they're like, I wonder who that is. At least there's a name involved.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And we already have people on. Ashley and Valerie both have joined us.
So, my aunt and sister are here. I think that's a little bit better. That's better. That is better. I like that. I'm just going to tilt this up. No, I don't want to.
While we're getting started, if you are watching this, go ahead and share it, like it right now. Invite people to it. And because we're doing something special tonight, I'm giving away books, audio books, which that's really awesome. So you'll get to have a chance of winning an audio book. And so that's definitely going to happen tonight. But share it to people, and let's have some fun.
Yes. We got my sister Ashley. What's up, girl? What's up? My aunt Valerie's here. Welcome. A few other people. I just got off the phone with my other aunt, so she knows that the show is happening. I spoke with my sister Heather. She knows that the show is happening. My grandmother should be here at some point. We have so many other people. Share. Which I'm going to do myself right now. I don't know if you've probably already shared it, right?
Oh yeah, I have shared it. So
for sure share.
Yeah. I'm going to actually go on and tag some people that I think might be interested.
Okay. I don't know what just happened here. I also, in the meantime, while we're sharing this amongst ourselves, I have posted the link if people want to go out and grab your copy of The Winter Wizard Chronicles, which is books 1 and 2 together. Everybody knows, which is an epic fantasy adventure by yours truly, Daniel Peyton. Everyone thought I was going to say me. But I'm in it. I am a character in that book. So, but it is now an audiobook. So I've posted the link for.
I wanted to share this book on my birthday, which was yesterday. I wanted to get it out there, but it kind of got released a little earlier than I expected, which is fine. The real cool thing is I also released the hardback edition. So you can get the book in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook. So it's out there for all sorts of readers.
Yeah.
The only thing it isn't in is Spanish. And that will come later, I hope.
Sure. I'd love to see it in every language possible. Wouldn't that be nice?
Oh, yeah.
So everyone could enjoy it. But so far, I don't see an excuse as to why people can't read it. So there's multiple ways of reading it pretty much. And now you can listen to it. It's on the go. I mean, you can't get better than that. So, yeah.
So other than what has been happening, Brian, we missed last week. We were both busy. So, you've been busy at work, I know.
Unfortunately, but other than that, nothing really. I've just been witnessing the changing of the seasons. It's now, tomorrow is October.
I know.
So the leaves are changing. Right now it's 48 degrees outside, so it's a little chilly out there. So yeah, it's getting cooler now. So we've lost our high 70 weather. So it was nice, but other than that, not doing anything.
Well, for me, this week has been a very unique experience, and I know some people who are watching this or will watch it. I want you to hear this because I'm very thankful for what happened this week. And I'm gonna give a little background. You know me, I love telling stories. Give a little background. I have had the worst birthdays ever. Now I know people have had some bad birthdays, but the last time I had a birthday party planned for me was when I was in third grade. It was third grade. And it was a big event that my parents had paid to rent out an entire arcade. Now, this is back in the day when people mainly went to arcades to play arcade games and all. And you play Street Fighter by putting quarters in a machine. And anyways, we held this big birthday party. Nobody showed up. All these kids were invited. You play all the games you want, cake and ice cream, all the fun stuff. Just me and the family. And they kind of hadn't gotten any better. And then when I would have birthdays, we try to do something, crazy things would happen. Just the craziest things would happen. Restaurants would be closed. We would travel like hours to get to. Things would take forever to get done. Shows would be a disaster. It was just never good. So I finally stopped even celebrating them. Well, this year, flip side of that happened. For my birthday, I have some friends here in Michigan who decided to throw a surprise party for me. And they planned this for over a month, and Tuesday. Now Tuesday for me is game night. I host game night in my house. We get friends come over, play games. I have some food. It's just a little fun time.
Mm.
But they decided to do it on game night. So that this Tuesday morning, a friend of mine he loves Detroit, and so I had never really explored downtown Detroit. And so he offered to take me to lunch at a special place there, a local eatery, and we were going to spend some time there. He's going to show me around. And then game night was going to be at a friend's house. They had surreptitiously convinced me to let someone else hold it this time around. And that was I kind of got a little clue that something was going on. But, I was like, I've not had a good birthday, so I'm not going to make plans of it happening. So he took me to Detroit. And very first thing, we were going to go to this restaurant. He was just dying to show me, and the restaurant was closed, as in it didn't open for 3 days. And so I was like, "Oh God, not again!" birthday curse is striking again. But no, just down the street there was another place, a little local pizza place, the Brass Bar. Absolutely the best pizza in the world. Loved it, Detroit style, glorious pizza. Then afterwards, we went all over downtown Detroit, and then we went to tour the Princess, which is a cruise ship, an old fashioned style cruise ship on the Detroit River that they do like parties and stuff on. And it was empty, but they let us take a tour of it and see the old ballrooms and stuff. Really nice. And then that evening we drove over to game night, and that's a big party set up for me. And so we played games all night. And Jeff, who's going to be our guest tonight, was one of the people who did this. So for the first time in over 25 years, I actually had a successful birthday party and a successful birthday. So totally new to me. And I'm going to show this off because it was one of the birthday gifts. There's a Renaissance festival here called Renfest. And they at this place, they do a lot of cosplay gear. Well, one of my friends found this and knew that for the Winter Wizard, it was perfect. They have a person who makes wands. And so they have this is actual wood that's carved and painted. It's an ice wand. So, Winter Wizard.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I'm just bragging a little there, but I was so stunned and a little, you might say, discombobulated to have this happen to me, simply because I've not had it happen before. So I honestly didn't know how to react. It was really weird. It was like I did not know how to function. When they did the whole big surprise, there's a dog that loves me that one of my friends brings to all the game nights. And so I'm down there petting the dog, trying to cope with the fact this is happening. It was kind of confusing. I'll be very honest. It was very confusing, but I'm very grateful that they did that because no one ever has. So I had a good birthday. Yay.
Yay. That's always a good thing. That's a positive thing. Yeah.
And then to add on top of that, Winter Wizard came out with all this fun stuff. So I'm really excited about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and once again, we get to talk to him, the narrator of the book.
Yep.
So, because I was not expecting this to come out so soon, because I thought maybe at least another month or something, or a little less. But yeah, I was very excited. So,
well, part of that, I have so much going on right now between Kickstarter and publishing, and I have the Dragon Wand Book 5 comes out October 15th. I have the Owl-Headed Wand that I'm promoting. I have all this stuff going on. So like when this popped up ready to come out, I'm like, you know what? I don't have anything specifically around the end of September. that's when I want to do this. So it worked out. But I had originally said I wanted to do this nearer to Christmas, but there's just so much going on. I decided to let it come out now.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's a good thing that this has come out now and not down the road. Now that prices are going up for, shipping and getting things in the mail and all that good stuff. So now it's audio.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it's officially on Audible. So
yes.
and again, I'm going to give away 2 copies tonight. I haven't decided yet how we're going to do that, but we're going to offer 2 free. That's it, free copies of the Winter Wizard Chronicles, an audiobook.
Free. 2.
And I will say this for anybody who's curious, the Audible prices the book for you. Whereas I self-publish the print book and the ebook, I get the opportunity to set the price, and it tells me how much production is going to cost. So I have a bar that it starts at, and then I can go up or down from there. So you can price it where I make almost no money, or I can add a whole bunch and make a lot of money. But for Audible audiobooks, they set the price. It's always based on length, as they said, length of the book. So anybody has a question about the price, I can't say, well, I can do a special on the ebook. I can do special deals on the print book. I can't for the audiobook. Right. So they gave me some codes to give away copies or to do reviewer copies. Those are where I'm going to give away books. But the actual special deal stuff, that's on Audible. So watch them. And I see Mr. John Clark has already got the audiobook. Yay! And definitely let's do it and give it a review. That needs to get started.
Yes. Absolutely. Especially if they get it on, because there's other places you can buy it except for Amazon, correct? Or is it just on Amazon?
At this moment, it's on Audible, which is an Amazon property. So for audiobooks, it's only on Audible itself. Wherever Audible is sold, you can get that.
Okay.
But like everything, Audible has the app you can listen to on your phone. You can listen to it off your computer. And the cool thing about Audible, like Kindle, you have a monthly. If you want, you can just download the free app, buy books individually, or you can pay for their monthly deal, and then you can download books from that, and you get those. If I'm not mistaken, you get them free, but it's like renting them, because then when you're done, it goes off there, and you can get a different one.
Right.
So there's all kinds of ways you can enjoy them on Audible. But right now, it's wherever Audible's sold. It's where this is on.
Okay.
And a good note for doing the reviews, for getting on there and talking about it, part of your review for an audiobook is about the audio narrator. You're saying how well they did, if you're going to listen to more than they do. And since Mr. G.G. Geist is new and just getting started in this, he needs that so that when people are looking for him, producers who want to do books, they can see good reviews for his work. So that would be very preferable. And I'm not telling you to do a good review. I'm just telling you to review. But if you enjoyed it, by all means, let them know he did a good job. I like getting people saying you wrote a good book, but at this point, he also needs that review as well. So
you could also mention that, Brian is your favorite character throughout the book or something.
Yeah, Brian is so freaking awesome.
I'm just kidding. I don't need to see that. But yes, please leave reviews. Absolutely. About the book and about the narration, obviously. Yeah.
Although that would be hilarious. I tell people I've got a 4 to 5 star review rating on books, and Mr. Guy says, I've got 5-star ratings on my voice. You go, I got a good rating for saving the world. Beat that. Okay. Oh, Alex. Hello, Alex.
Whoa. What's he saying here? Gonna listen in the background, working on homework.
Yep.
Homework. Oh, I never did like homework.
Well, it's one of those necessary evils. So,
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Play the video. Go ahead and play the video. Mr. Geist made a video advertising this, so you can hear him and you can hear about the book. So if you want to play that.
Okay, here we go.
From the hill.
Oops, come on, look. Where's it?
Of east.
Well,
East Tennessee.
Oh dear.
oh dear me. Let me stop this.
I'm
What's happening
going
here?
to
To the
confess that
world
I've
of
had
Johann.
trouble playing this video on my stream too.
All right. I will really want to see this now.
Yeah.
There's a dragon here in the middle of the sky. So we need to get this working here or something.
I don't know. I've had trouble with it. I don't know if it's a
Oh, no.
StreamYard is just getting picky back because it plays fine on Facebook.
Is it on Facebook? Because I can show it on Facebook.
I do believe it is. Let me see if I can't shoot you a link because I believe
Yeah.
it's on my
Okay. I
personal,
want
my
okay.
professional page.
Let me
Pardon
go
me, we
on.
have minor technical difficulties. Here we are.
That's all right. Oh, here we are. So let's see here. So it's on your page.
Let's see if I can do this. I will shoot you a link directly to it.
Oh, okay.
That way it might help you quickly do this.
Oh, there it is.
Link. There we are. The universal sound of Facebook messaging.
All right, it is play. Oh, I need to stop this because I need to see this. I have questions about this, so be prepared for some questions about this video because I want to know.
Anybody watching it, questions, ask them, especially Mr.
Yeah.
Geist.
Let me blow this up here so people can actually see it. All right. Whoop. I don't know why I did that. StreamYard. Share my screen. Share. All right. Where are we? Is it this one? Yep, there it is. Okay, here's the video. Everyone see it now?
It feels small, but we can see it.
All right, how's that?
There we go.
Okay, let's play this bad boy. Where's the volume? Oh, the volume's off. Oh my goodness.
To the world of Johann.
Nope, we're starting over, folks.
From the hills of East Tennessee. To the world of Yohanananda. Dark forces are working to create chaos, destroy civilization, and take control of the planet. And the hope of all people, human and magical, rests in the hands of three friends. This is the Winter Wizard Chronicles. From the pen of Daniel Peyton comes two gripping adventures of peril, hope, sacrifice, and friendship. Follow Brian, Sherry, and the Winter Wizard himself as they seek to overcome incredible obstacles to save their planet and each other. Narrated by Geist, this two-part series features over 9 hours of immersive content. Available now on Audible and iTunes.
Whoa. Okay. Anyways, I don't know what the hell that was.
Okay.
Welcome back. Okay.
Yeah, and I said Mr. Geist made that. So, and it sounds better. That's we're watching it through watching somebody else watch it. So it's kind of sound wasn't as good as it could be. Hit the video if you go on my page, my professional page. You can watch the video. It's great, and I just love that he made that. He made both that one and the teaser. So let's bring him on.
Hey guys, how's it going?
There he is. There's Mr. GG Geist. People, ladies and gentlemen, it's the voice himself.
I will tell you guys, I did make that video indeed. As I was producing it, I had all these different angles I can go in, and I've listened to that entire thing maybe about 30 or so times, and I every single time I just love it. From the music to the way everything kind of comes together. It's a lot of stock images, and it was a big project doing that. But oh my goodness, it's so cool seeing that actually happen, seeing that being actually used as a marketing video. Man, it's just a lot of fun. So I've really enjoyed all these different parts of the process, but the best part, as much fun as the creation of this is, the best part is release day when you get to do all the fun stuff, seeing the video come out and people loving that. It's just been it's a lot of fun. So if that's what it is for me. I can't imagine what it must be like for you, Dan.
Well, I can tell you after releasing so many books, it does kind of come out more common to me. However,
Fair.
This was the first audiobook that I ever worked like this with. So it coming out was a totally awesome experience. Totally different. I'm usually I get notified, oh, the audiobook was released last week. I'm like, oh, it was. This time I'm like, it's me, and I'm putting it out there. So yeah, that was getting it released was so much excitement and a little bit of drama that we had behind the scenes and getting it there. But once it got there,
ACX is they have a lot of really stringent things. I mentioned this in the previous show that I was on a couple weeks ago. But for those who haven't heard about it, like actually putting things together through ACX, there are some specific, specific facets of the actual files themselves that it needs to go through in order to be acceptable to ACX. One of which is like what is the minimum or the average decibel level, which seems kind of strange, but I guess it's they don't want lots of pops in it, and they don't want things being too wavy up and down because it takes away from the audiobook experience. And so what I have to do is I have to go in and like put the file through a bunch of macros and say, hey, okay, like I got to make sure that the highs aren't really high and the lows might have a little bit of like of some room sound, so that it takes away from the decibel level is a little more consistent. It's a strange thing. Only ACX. You would never think about it for anywhere else. But knowing that and having listened to both the raw version or the mastered version versus just the straight edited version before doing all those macros, it is a night and day difference. It really does improve the way it sounds, and I can see why ACX does it. There are lots of hoops to jump through, but again, hearing both sides, sometimes it may not sound like that big of a deal, but to someone who spent 40 some hours doing this entire project, hearing the raw stuff, it's nothing like hearing the mastered stuff. So you guys, ACX makes you jump through some hoops, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know if you knew this. I mentioned it earlier, but when people give a review of an audiobook on Audible, they review the narrator as much as they review the book itself.
Oh yeah, and I'm aware of that. Actually, so I'm a big Audible listener too. I love stuff. I actually just finished up Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That was a really, really well done book. The first one, the first audiobook that I listened to was called Switch by Chip and Dan Heath. I normally love business type and not like college type stuff, but business type books. That's the kind of the stuff that I usually am listening to. And so there's a guy, Charles Kallenberg. Apparently he's a really well-known one. He's done a lot of really great audiobooks before. He did Switch by Chip and Dan Heath. And I remember as I'm thinking about getting into voiceovers, like, okay, like I know I'm not going to be like, I have to start my way from the ground up, but this guy's like incredible. How do I get myself to talk like him? And he's an older guy. You can tell there's like, he has a lot of wrinkles on his face, but his voice is just so clear and so smooth and just professional. It's effortless. And here I am in the background. I'm like, okay, try to be like Charles Kallenberg. Try to be like, I forget what some guy, Steven, who did the version of Rich Dad Poor Dad that I listened to. Voice is kind of nasally, but the way he toned everything just felt and sounded so natural. And it's something, this is my first audiobook that I've done. This is not the first time I've done voice work, but for an audiobook of this, like for any kind of work at this length, this is my first time doing it. And I was very intentional about, trying to tell myself that to slow down sometimes, making sure that I am, that I'm clear in everything that I'm saying. especially when it comes to big paragraphs. Sometimes I like to speed through the second half of big paragraphs. I had to really rein myself in. I mentioned this again in the first show that I did with you guys. But yeah, it took a little bit of effort. It took a lot of redos to say, okay, Jeff, slow down, especially and go through the paragraph. Get your lips around every consonant, around every syllable.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big thing that I had to keep in the back of my mind that really changed how I did the audiobook. There's a lot more of a science to it than people think. And, you know, I've talked to a number of different people who say, oh my gosh, I'd love to get into audiobooks. I'd love to do this kind of stuff. Well, how much? This isn't just talking. This isn't just, okay, I have a nice sounding voice. I should get paid to talk for a living. It goes a lot deeper than that. And there's a lot of science. There's a lot of things that you have to do as an audiobook artist, as a narrator or audiobook artist, whichever way sounds better. As a narrator, a lot of things you have to do with voice and a lot of things you go back and redo and really being consistent. It's almost like kind of like running a marathon where your voice is almost like under tension. You don't talk like you normally talk. You actually have to put some certain stresses on your voice, especially if you're doing accents. Like this is a difficult thing. So to do those things consistently, going from one accent to the other, consistently making things sound as pure and as smooth as possible to really give the listener a clear picture of what's going on. That's not an easy thing to do. That was one of the first things that I learned as I was getting into this is, okay, this isn't just talking. People have told me for years of my life that I'd be great at talking, but this isn't just, okay, I'm going to walk up to the microphone and just start going at it. And all of a sudden I'm going to get all these contracts from people looking to do audiobooks. No. It's the first real skin in your knee type thing, or first real hard truths. No, it's not easy to do, but it's you can get there, and it takes a little bit of effort. If you're willing to put the effort in, you're definitely capable of doing something with it, going beyond just one book. So all I have to say, I know we got off on a big tangent, but any reviews of the actual of the narration, the speech itself, you know, if it's great, then awesome. If it's terrible, then don't let that affect your overall rating of the book. I don't want to have marred a great work by Dan because I sounded really goofy. I don't think you will. Again, I really feel like I did a lot of work on this. Again, this is my first one, and I'm thrilled to have had this opportunity. And it can only go up from here. So all the feedback, all the reviews, I will take that feedback into account as a listener. I listen to it myself. I want to make sure, okay, if I was listening to this, how would I approach this? But I'm always going to have a little bit of a bias towards myself. As hard as I am on myself, as much of a perfectionist as I can be, I want to make sure that, hey, like, what do other listeners think, not just me? So I'm really looking forward to all the feedback that people are going to be able to provide.
Yeah, I was actually talking to an author at a convention a few years back about doing audiobooks, and he's been an author since the 80s, and he talked about doing audiobooks back then. They'd hire a studio to produce it, and they'd have a voice person like yourself go in, but they had a director and a producer who'd sit there, and they do just like they do in cartoons. They don't actually today. That's not very common today. People do it at home in little studios at home. That's actually a lot more common now. But back then, he said, you'd have someone sitting there. They'd have a script. The script would have the name, like you would be reading a movie script, the name above the text, and then the narration. So you would look at it and go, okay, now I'm switching to this voice here. And with the director, he said that because he did one of his books, he said, I did one. That was all I was ever going to do, because he sat there and he would read a line, and he said it would be like, "Please hand me the pie." No, do that again, but try a little serious. Please hand me the pie. No. Okay, try it funny. Please hand me the pie. He did over and over and over and over again, and they would record every one of those and pick the one out they liked, and that would be the one they edit into the book. And so he would read line after line after line, and then have to do it all over again because you were too high pitched. Let's bring it down. Now we got a lot more computer stuff to take care of that, but they did it more like reading for a cartoon series today. So I was like, eesh. When he told me that, I was like, I don't want to ever do this myself. And then I meet the person doing my first audiobook for the Dragon One series, and he said, oh, no, I do it all myself. I'm like, oh, you can? Yeah, it's not 1988, so maybe you can. So now Brian said he had some questions or comments about the video.
You already answered them. So
Oh.
I was wondering who made the video, first of all, because I enjoyed that. Okay. Yeah, and I already know whose voice it was. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun doing that. So I've been doing videos for a while now. Bullion Creative is my brand, my little agency that I run. And I do marketing videos like that. I use a software called Camtasia, even though I'm potentially switching over to something else called DaVinci. So, both of them look pretty cool. But yeah, I've done a lot of great work on that. I've used that to produce a lot of YouTube videos. I used to work at a startup that did aftermarket automotive products, and I would be both in front of the camera, behind the camera, and in the editing studio. So I kind of did it all. So I know a lot about what types of video looks good and how to pace a video. That's another difficult thing, is pacing, similar to audiobooks. But if you pay, I as a video maker, I pay attention to this type of stuff. But as you watch that marketing video, see, hey, it's drawing out information slowly, weaving in between the actual story and the actual real life. Okay, my author Daniel Peyton, and then it gets into this, takes a little more into the story, and then or narrated by Gigi Geist, features over 9 hours of content. Boom, available now on Audible and iTunes. And to pay something like that and to draw that out, keep somebody's attention, I will say, having a good background track really helps on that. But to pace that kind of stuff, it's fun actually getting into this and getting into working with this stuff. Okay, figuring out what's going to look better where. It's a fun process, and anyone who puts together videos understands what it's like. Sometimes it can be pretty tedious, especially if you're looking for like stock video. That's usually the most time-consuming part of the process. But actually figuring out where everything's going to go, seeing how everything is going to look, it's a fun process.
I do for the online game I work for. Of course, I write the story for it, and how we release it is we'll release a chapter a day leading up to an event. And I have to take what I wrote, edit it, and then put it on the blog. And then in game, we have the blog, and we have an in-game news thing that goes in. I can put that in 15 minutes. I can have it run through my tech editor, which is I use Grammarly, and to do a basic overview. And then I have a friend of mine who takes a look at it, and then I put it in there. 15 minutes. Then I'll spend the next half hour finding the right pictures. Because my boss is like, we want at least 3 to put in there to tell the story a little better because it's comic book style. And so now we have our own art files and art stuff to work for the game, and I've got my own art. Still, I'm working. We've got close to 30,000 different pictures. So I'm searching through all this to find the right stuff, just to put it in there. If I really like that, how to get in there? Oh, it is arduous, but pacing too. For videos, I've done my own ad videos for my books. Not all of them. I've got a few professionally done, and they're better than mine. I will admit that every day. But I look at the ones I made to begin with and the ones now, and I realize pacing. I would throw information out there so quick, chop it, because Facebook is like, you only have, or videos can only sell if they have 1 minute or less or whatever. And so I was like, okay, I'm taking 5 minutes of stuff and just cramming it into 1 minute. I didn't realize what I need to do is just take stuff out and make it still tell what I need people to hear, and then give it to them briefly, properly, not throw it at them really quick. And I'm still not good at it, but I've gotten better.
It's a process. It's definitely a process, and it helps having done it quite a bit. First videos I did, just I wanted to get all the information out there at once. It's an exact science of pacing out information and slowly keeping a reader's or a listener's or watcher's attention. Once you actually, it's like almost like a tool. Once you're able to wield it very well, it's a lot of fun to do, and it's a lot of fun to watch people bring things in and really watch the average watch time of your videos go up because of it.
Now, for people who are watching this, I've got friends who are authors and other people who do creative stuff, and they hire this. Could people hire for you to make them an advertising video for their book?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely am. My company, Bullying Creative, it's a self-owned LLC, so it's an actual company that I own. But yes, I am taking requests. I'm doing contracts with people to do small marketing videos for their book, just like the video that you saw. I can do those for other books as well. It's definitely a passion of mine to help other people's like dreams come true. I'm not going to be the next Saatchi and Saatchi or 72 and Sunny or BBDO or any of these other big ad agencies, but I'm a guy with some marketing skills and I want to use them. So if there's anyone that's interested in having one of these marketing books done, I'd love to chat with you and see what I can do for you.
Yeah, I definitely need some work. So yeah, maybe I'll be talking to you very soon about this.
Oh, okay.
So, and it won't be Winter Wizard, so it'll be something different for once.
Beautiful. Not that I'm ever tired of the Winter Wizard. That it really is a great book, and it's a really the story really is like capturing. But as with anywhere, it is fun to mix things up quite a bit and get move on to new projects and stuff.
Well, talking about the Winter Wizard, first of all, for people who are watching this, I mentioned earlier that Tuesday was my birthday. So the first thing I'm going to do a little game on here is you can guess my age. You can guess it. Whoever gets closest will win an audiobook of the Winter Wizard Chronicles. So be kind. Anyways, speaking of the Winter Wizard Chronicles, I want to talk a little about the story, since you definitely read it a few times, have heard it more than you want to. Talking about the story, one of the things I wanted to talk about is Brian's character. Because of this, well, I'm going to say this because as a fantasy author who has worked on a very successful fantasy series here, I have worked with other fantasy series. I want to talk about what made this one, in my opinion, different to write because of the MC, the main character. And that is that Brian is a human from modern day Earth. And so many fantasy books like to do that kind of trope where you have a human, usually a little kid, think Narnia, that ends up in a fantasy world. So you're telling that world in a perspective to a child. But I decided that mine would be an adult with a defined human character of Earth we know today, with cell phones, cars, and podcasts in a magical world. And I loved doing that because it gave a fun perspective on him. He was, little kids are very inquisitive. So that's one of the reasons why they love to do that. Authors love doing that because you can take a kid and he's going to ask all the right questions. Why are those dragons? Where did they come from? They're going to sit and listen to this fantastic story where they came from. And, oh, how does magic work? Oh, I'm going to listen to that too. Whereas an adult, we're not that curious anymore. We're more get to the point. Kids can listen for an hour to a story about a snail. We're like, give me the ending. I'm busy, So I had to take that aspect in Brian. I'd make him curious, but not too curious. And so I was kind of wanting both of your perspective on how the character interacts with the world, both the first story, which is on Earth, but it's definitely a magical setting because of what happens, and then Johann, which is a totally magical world. How was your perception of that character? Either one.
Brian, you go ahead because it actually is you.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's been a while since I've read it. I think I was the first one to read. Well, the rough draft, anyways.
Yeah.
So I got it. I was spoiled. So, I didn't even think it was possible. To be honest with you, I didn't think that you would get it done within the allotted time. I thought that it might have taken longer, to be honest with you. So I'm glad that I came up with this challenge of you writing books, and I get to be the main character. So I don't know why I didn't do it sooner.
From what you recall, what was your thinking about me trying to capture you into this story?
I remember you asking questions about me to get your, personality, I think, or what. I think the personality is definitely there. I'm in the book. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you did, from either watching videos and talking to me and interviews, I'm pretty sure you researched, everything to kind of, because you're putting a real person in a book. So you want to get as much of their personality in the book as possible. So, and you did it. So
one of the aspects of creating a character is what's called voice.
yeah.
And that can be many different things. Really, it is. It's their personality. It's how they talk, what they say, how they react to voice. And so, yes, I had to do a lot of listening to videos. I watched a lot of your old videos because I wanted to, if you're going to answer a question in the story, I want it to sound like Brian Shepard answering a question. If people who know you are going to read the book, and your voice should be coming out of that in their ears.
Yeah.
So that was something, yes, I did. So, and from another perspective, Jeff, what was for Brian's character?
So I must say, I thought the biggest thing that characterizes Brian is a can-do attitude. And that's not just like, oh, happy-go-lucky. All right, yeah, I'm the main character. I'm gonna go kill the dragons and slay the dragon queen. It's it's defaulting to action is really what it does. I don't think there's any time in the book where Brian doesn't want to actually do something. He is willing to take responsibility. He's willing to be the one that makes the sacrifice. And I think it's again, looking at that from I don't know if you guys know about what the DISC test is. It's a big circle. It's a pretty commonly used in corporate settings. There's a various different ways that this can go. Being as close to the top of the circle as possible means you're defaulting to action. I feel like that's what Brian really gets captured in. He's not a supporting character. He is the one that, if something needs to get done, he is the one that's going to take the action and do it. He is willing to take the lead. He's also willing to take the fall if necessary. So thinking about that in terms of the actual story itself, looking at how that dynamic plays in, where Sherry is not so much of a typical sidekick. She wants to be part of the spotlight too. She wants to do what she can. And there are ways in the story where that plays into it. And Dan actually uses that, I don't know, a trope, but that kind of concept and plays around with it. But she wants to take the lead a little bit. There's a little bit of a sense of found family in the movie, or not the movie, in the book or audio.
We can only hope.
We can only hope, yeah. A little bit of a sense of found family in which, Brian is the one that's taking the lead, but there are all this cast of characters comes around him and helps him along in the journey, but they all grow closer together. They all have their boundaries, and then they slowly break them down. Where Brian is the one that is kind of taking the initiative, and he breaks characters' barriers down each individually, and oftentimes, again, it is through taking responsibility and defaulting to action.
Yeah, when I developed the characters for Brian and Sherry, I really did focus on trying to adopt the real people into the story. Mm-hmm. And between the two of them, Sherry came across to me as more, I'd say properly, a homebody, somebody who wouldn't take the initiative to go do something. She'll let somebody else do it. And yet Brian was always the one who was doing something and getting things done. So that's where you're right. That's where I get the different people, different perspective there. But there's all these different people in the story. All these different people. Sylvia is based on Sylvia Ghost Hunter, so she is in the Ghost Library. Richard is based off of character of a person who was part of that writing contest. So I didn't really base him off his character. I barely knew him. I couldn't find info, so I just kind of created a character and slapped his name on that one. But I'm actually in the story. For people, for anybody here who's read it, but I'll ask you, Jeff, do you know who I am in this story?
I'm going to say you're Mr. Cat.
Boy, you pegged it right on.
Yeah, I looked at it as, okay, yeah, the Winter Wizard, it seems pretty obvious. Like it would seem pretty obvious, but knowing you, knowing a lot of your traits, and knowing that it would seem almost too easy for you to put yourself as a main character, as a not the lead character, but as part of the main core. You wanted to incorporate much more of your personality into a character, and it knowing you, it felt a little closer to Mr. Cat than it did the actual Winter Wizard itself.
So here's a bit of a history for you on this story. Yes, I'm in it kind of two ways, and that the Dan character that's in both books, and no spoiler alert to anybody, that is the name Dan characters in there, is kind of who I want to be. It's that not I don't want to be a wizard and ancient. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that hero, that highly successful, that person. But that's my person I want to be. Who I am is Mr. Cat. Kind of cynical, experienced, a little has the secrets, but is not too terribly mean about them.
Mm-hmm. Seems to always know what to do in the situation.
Yeah, has a clever head. And that's, I've always been, ever since I was in elementary school, every teacher said, I have a clever head. I can figure things out on my own, and usually in a correcter way. But I'm not bragging, it's just the way I am. I'm logical. But when we get the history here is, 13 or 14 years ago, I wrote my first book that was published. That's one that was published by that really seedy publisher that was a really long, terrible story. And in this book, there's a lot of elements to that book that I brought over to the second Winter Wizard story. So in a way, I rescued that book from obscurity by taking bits and pieces of it and using it as bones to build the second Winter Wizard story. Mm-hmm. The only character to survive into the Winter Wizard story from that's a good guy. The bad guy, the Queen of Darkness, is actually, that was one of the bad guys from the first one, but it's Mr. Cat. And Mr. Cat was in that first book too. The almost exact same character, almost down to the mirror he carries. And but that was because even then I brought him on. And what if you know Mr. Cat in the story? What is his job?
His job is to.
What's his profession? Let me put it that way.
Profession. He's a trader.
Salesman.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I am. I've always been a salesman, but I'm more of a in a store type of salesman. That's why I do great at Comic-Cons. I'm a salesman, and so I made that character a salesman. So yes, that's where Mr. Cat comes into. That's where I come into the story, is through Mr. Cat, not through the Dan character, which is a little ironic, but it's the truth. I identify and created that character off of me, and I will say this: it's the only character in any of the books I have ever published that's based on me. People constantly say that, oh, who are you in this story? I'm like, I'm not in that one. Oh, we know authors do that. No, they don't. They don't. No, authors typically don't put themselves in their books. This is the only time I've ever done it. And that's one of my pet peeves. People are like, oh, where are you in the book? I'm like, nowhere. Name on the front. That's where I'm in the book. So, but here I did it. But I had to. I mean, come on. I'm putting everybody else in the book. I had to be in there. So, and Jeff, you will end up in a book. I'm sorry, it'll happen. Even if I don't even not try, it's going to just pop up in there somewhere. So, definitely.
I am more than happy to be subject material of anything you want to write. It sounds like it would be a lot of fun, and I'd be curious to say, hey, all right, Jeff, here's all these things. Here's the book. You figure out which character you are.
Oh, that would be interesting.
That would be interesting. It's almost like where's Jeff? Not where's Waldo. But yeah, instead of looking at a big page full of all these little drawn people, it's no, you got to read an entire book and figure out which one you are. Be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I actually told somebody that was they work on indie films, and I'm like, they want my book, the Dragon One series, has been opted to be made into a movie, but we're still working on the production side of money. But they asked me, I said, would you want to be involved? I'm like, absolutely. Actually, the contract specifically states that I have a script approval. So I fully respect the need to change the book for a script. That needs to happen, yes. But I'm going to be like J.K. Rowling. She was literally on every word of every Harry Potter movie because she wanted to make sure it was faithful to her vision. And I'm glad she did because it came out great. But I'm going to be the same with this. But they said, "Do you want to be in it?" And I'm like, I would love to. I have acting background. I actually am trained, so I want to be it. But I do not want to play a main character. I want to be in the corner playing an instrument in one scene, and have that be an Easter egg forever. Oh, there's the author.
Like a Stan Lee in a Marvel movie.
I want to Stan Lee it. That's where I want to be there. I don't want to be a main character. Even in theater, that was something my directors, people I've worked with, were really curious about. I'd auditioned for the side characters. I'd auditioned for the background. I never wanted to be a main player in anything. And they were like, "Well, don't you?" I'm like, not really. That's not what I want to do. I want to carry the spear over here. I got to be in Jesus Christ Superstar. Loved being in that, and I wanted to play the guard because there's a guard all the way through it on the stage play. There's a guard all the way through it, and I'm like, and I looked at the director. And I said, "Guess what? I actually have more scenes than Jesus."
Interesting.
Although I'm just standing in the corner, but that's what I love. So
I feel like it's a very interesting, not like a dichotomy, but like to think about that trait, to be willing to be a supporting actor, but not just a supporting actor, but a core support, which is what Mr. Cat is in the book. Mm-hmm. I love sports. I don't watch too much of it lately, but I do know one thing that tends to be a little bit of a difficulty as young players, especially like basketball players, as young players are going from high school to college to NBA. Especially in high school and college, they are the best players in their team. If you can make it to the NBA, you've been the best player on your team the entire. You've been like at center stage. You've been the focal point. Once you get to the highest level, it's a big mental transition to say I'm not the main guy anymore. Like you're on a team with LeBron James. You're not going to be the superstar. LeBron James is going to be the superstar. If you're on a team with like a Steph Curry who can shoot 3-pointers, like you're not going to be that. You're not going to be the superstar of that team. It takes like people naturally have like a not a selfish, but they're the main characters in their own story. So why wouldn't I be the main character in every story that I'm in? It takes a certain type of humility to be able to say, "Hey, all right, I'm going to intentionally take a back seat. I'm intentionally going to be a supporting type person in these types of places to make sure that these things keep going, to make sure that whether it's others can have the spotlight, but also to make sure that this happens. Because if everyone's trying to be number one, no one's number one. There has to be a hierarchy. There has to be a dichotomy. There has to be a division of who's in the spotlight and who's not."
Now, going back to the book, the next area of characters I did want to talk about were the bad guys. And I had in the Winter Wizard series, there are 4 very specific villains. But one of them I wanted to talk about, but one of the tropes, one of the things I don't like is the hero, the villain coming around trope. The villain finally realizing the error of their ways trope. And there's a lot of that. And nowadays you find it more and more. And people are like, "Well, it's because nobody's really that bad." I'm like, actually, yeah, there were some people that were that bad. I don't think anybody's going to write the story of Hitler and how he's learned the error of his ways. It wouldn't sell, but no. They're bad people. And I wanted to make sure that, I wanted to hold that, but I'm going to make the villainy in such a way that A, it makes sense, but B, when they go down, no one's going, "Oh, I didn't kill Loki. I killed, Thanos." So, you don't want them to survive or succeed in any way. But to keep it from being a total letdown of just of all bad versus all good, I wanted one villain to have the change of heart. So that is where I don't want to spoil it for people. So that is where you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Brian knows what I'm talking about. He's kind of sneering, I think, about it, but I'm talking about. But I wanted to have a character, but how I, working that. So in the story, did you see that coming, or was it something that you were cheering for? What's
So, thinking specifically about the story, about the turn, there are a variety of like twists and turns that happen within the villain troop or troop group, whichever one. There are some interesting things that are at play. It's not just a straightforward bad guys bad, good guys good. You could see something like this happen. You can see not a change of heart, but something like that happen, and you can watch as certain things happen within the villain group. The dynamics change way more than just okay, like this one thing just happened, and all right, we're just gonna forget about it. The way things do happen, and they are almost like human things, and the bad person's not bad. Sorry, the bad persons are people are bad. But it's the bad people are also human. The bad people can also there is a humanity to them. I know a lot of DC. I'm not huge into comic books, but I know a lot of like Marvel and DC stories tend to say, okay, hey, the good guys have a little bit of a bad side to them, and the bad guys have a little bit of a good side to them, and there tend to be lots of like moral dilemmas that happen. And I know there are a couple movies where it's like, who really is the bad guy here? That isn't necessarily the case in this story, but playing with the concept of, okay, the villains are still human. The villains would react the way that humans would react, not in the way that we not in the easy way. Oh yes, the villains are always bad, and yes, this thing happens, and then we're just going to ignore it, and we're always going to continue to be bad. All right, we're going to kill you. It's there. It watches itself like unfold. Okay, it unfolds just as a human would do it. And I think it shows depth of the writer, shows just the creativity and the commitment to actually doing a story that, even though it's set in a complete fantasy land using wizards and witches and stuff, that it would be completely plausible in any other without those facets at play. It'd be completely plausible.
Yeah, and that's writing a villain is actually way harder than writing a good guy. Writing the moral characters, because for a moral character, you really should think about yourself and about people and develop an understanding of that every decision they make isn't going to be gold star perfect, but they are going to make stupid mistakes. They are going to make bad choices, but you can work with that because you've done that. Hopefully, you're not the villain in the world. You are just a person going about your life, and you've made dumb choices. And so, yes, again, but villains, the worst villains are the Snidely Whiplash. They're just doing bad to be bad because bad's fun. Even Thanos had his reason, even if it was completely screwy, So you have that kind of thing. You have to understand that there is a depth to the villain that's difficult to write, because you have to write somebody who's willing to do the worst things, but have to have a reason behind it. And that is so hard. And now I went the easy route. I totally will admit I went the easy route. These people are after power. I am not going to. That's not spoiling anything. It's not sugarcoating. It's just my villains are after power. But in a way, I tried to make it make sense. They're not just there to rule the world. It's like, I needed a little more make sense on that. But that's really hard. It is actually very hard to write a good three-dimensional villain. One of the worst three-dimensional villains in literature is Sauron. Because if you read the books, he doesn't really have 3 dimensions. He's just being evil to conquer, well, not Middle-earth, but actually it's where he comes from. In the Silmarillion, it actually explains better. But he's actually not that deep. And there's a lot of Lord of the Rings fans from every angle that will want to skewer me for saying that, but it's true. But Tolkien balanced that by making the story not about good versus evil. He made a story about the adventure. So that's totally that works.
Mm-hmm. No, looking at John Clark just posted a really good comment. The best villains are those who want to do the right thing, just going about it the wrong way. I was going to add something that something kind of similar, saying the best lies are 99% truth. So like the most evil things contain that element of good in them. It's just like a poisoned good, as opposed to like what we would think as just straight evil, as okay, the complete opposite of good. It's the most difficult evil is the one that's composed of the most good. Just a slight deviation that, like, with that slight deviation takes in a completely different direction. And there's lots of elements about that, especially you think about the biblical stories where it's the devil's a fallen angel. It's not just the devil one day woke up and decided, okay, I'm just the counterpart to God. It's no, this is an actual angelic being, and that just got one little idea in his head and goes the complete opposite direction. There are lots of other great like story type tropes that come out of that, but the thought about, okay, a difficult villain being 99% good and just going about things in the wrong way, it is interesting seeing how that plays out in greater literature, and specifically how that plays out in the book.
Now, and for my writing, the type of villain I enjoy creating are typically ones that have been wronged in their own mind, and on their path to either get vengeance or get power, they've just taken every wrong turn, and now they don't care how the world burns as long as it burns. So that, and again, I write young adult to middle grade, so you kind of have to be a little thinner on your villains. You can't go too deep. But to go on your point, someone asked me at a convention on a panel once about that. Why? How can villainy be something that's so hideous, like killing off a bunch of people, but in the mind of the villain, how can you justify that? How can you make it seem like to the audience it makes sense to them? That doesn't seem right. And I said, well, let me give you a real example. Back in the early 20th century, there was a science that has now been disproven about genetics. And it was taught from the late 19th to the early 20th century that there were 5 different races of man, which we know by the genetics project that was done in the late 70s, early 80s, that that's not true. And that, but that every color of person was kind of the scale. Dark people, they were not evolved. Light people, they were super evolved. And so to make the races better or make the world better, we introduce eugenics. Eugenics says we want to sterilize people. We want to put people into camps or into places. And I'm not talking about the Holocaust. They did it here in the States. We forcibly sterilize people. We forcibly make sure they don't have children. We force them to have abortions against their will because they might be breeding a bad specimen. That's hideous. Describing that sounds horrible, and it was. But back in the day, we were teaching children from kindergarten through college that was genetics, it was science, it was the right thing to do. It was for, in tomorrow's world, we're going to be a better race because of it. We made that sound so good until science went, wait a minute, this doesn't work out. And I'm like, I just described something that was totally 100% legitimately really happened. And if we wrote that into a story today, people will go, those are horrible villains. They didn't think they were then. Nobody doing that thought they were a villain. Nobody did. And that's what John's talking about. A villain has to do stuff that everybody goes, that's wrong. But in their mind, they can't conceive that it's wrong. Mm-hmm. It's right in the end, even though everybody's like, no, it's not. And those are hard to write. Those are hard to write for 2 reasons. 1, to get that kind of depth, you have to put a lot into the book. But 2, it's painful to write. Mm-hmm. Writing good villainy actually makes you sad and depressed because you put yourself in the mind of the characters, and you're writing that kind of stuff. Every author who writes that kind of stuff will tell you that there are times they have to set their book down and go cry because they can't handle what they just wrote. And it's totally fiction. So yes, villains. I wanted to point out, Heather, you're a little old for me, but She says 42. You're the one to answer that. So, Heather, if you, I will give you a copy of the Winter Wizard Chronicles. So, you got that. You're the only one to try. I think other people in here have already got it, which is great. And Brian, I'll let you give one out to somebody either now or later. You can have one to give to somebody.
Okay. I should come up with some way to win it some creative way, but yeah. So is she close? Was that the correct number?
No,
because I don't even know. I don't even know your age.
I'm 39.
Oh, okay.
So okay.
We're old. Oh boy.
Yeah, I know. Well, it depends to look at it. I'm about 5,000 years in, give or take.
Yeah.
So, all right. That was talking about the book. Anything else you want to talk about from the story? Anything that you found interesting that you wanted to bring up?
I think as of right now, I think people like just really listen to the story, and it's my encouragement when listening to the story is really allow yourself to be placed into the story as like a third person, because almost like imagine yourself what you would do in this situation, but really immerse yourself into the world that Dan has created. Immerse yourself into the story. Imagine yourself as Brian, or imagine yourself as Sherry, and think about not just what you would do in the situation, but kind of what you would be thinking. Why Brian is doing what he's doing. Why Sherry is doing what he's doing. Add your own depth to the characters. It will make the story a lot more fun as you're listening to it.
Yes, thank you. That's a good idea. Definitely put yourself in that world. I had so much fun building that world. I really did. And that's why I set the next book that I'm trying to get published, The Owl-Headed Wand, is actually set in Johan. It's another story within that world, but has nothing to do with this book. So it's not a sequel or anything. It's just within the same realm. But I love building it. And I want people to enjoy that world because I want to make it something totally different than other fantasy you have, with recognizable elements, but not immediately just that's what everybody does. So finally, I want to say, yes, we are promoting this as best we can, trying to get it out there. We have, of course, a video, which you saw, that's being put out there. And I'm going to look at some more avenues of marketing. With your marketing background, what are your thoughts on trying to market an audiobook?
So marketing audiobook, it's similar to marketing like a game. Like you would think to market a video game or something like that, because it's not just that you are marketing. I'm going to market to fantasy fans. Is you got to get people who are on Audible. You got to get people who are using this platform to consume your content. So thinking specifically about that, it's like your audience is already a little more hyper focused than it's already more focused than you'd think. You're already building into this. But it's almost like it's kind of doing some of the work for you. So trying to get this as, okay, if I'm looking for more great types of content, I want to put these themes forward. I want to put talk specifically about what gets what people in this fans of this genre will like. So thinking about the video itself, like getting in some there's a very specific reason that I included, hey, this is 9 hours of content. This isn't just, okay, a quick, 3.5 hour book that, the author wrote in a weekend. This was a long project. And this is a pretty big, well-developed world that will be familiar to those who are big fantasy fans, but aren't necessarily, has its own unique flavor. And I tried to express a little bit of that in the video, but really showcasing, hey, listen, if you're a fan of all this type of content, you're going to appreciate this. This is from a seasoned author, all that. Like, you're going to appreciate this, but this takes it in a slightly different direction, plays with certain tropes and concepts that aren't necessarily what someone would expect, but makes for a very good, very robust novel. So yeah, a lot of it is showcasing, hey, if you're a fan of this, if you already use this to consume content, the audience is already pretty well narrowed down for you. So really hammering in on things, especially if you're looking at something with like a small budget, okay, don't necessarily go for everyone who loves fantasy. You want to go for, okay, if you're a really big fan of this author, you're a really big fan of these types of books, go after this. It's not just, okay, like cast as wide of net as possible. This really allows you to get in close with a very small group of people and say, okay, this is the great stuff for you. I forget who said this, but it was some really good entrepreneur who says the biggest thing you need to do to create lots of great fans is make 1,000 people really happy. The rest will just happen by nature. But if you can make 1,000 people extremely happy to the point where they will, you announce a new project, they're automatically they're interested. They'll do whatever it takes. They'll be the first person on at a book signing. They'll be the first person to buy something. That's kind of what you're going for. That's as a marketer, I want to make sure that not only is the content that I'm it's the narrator, like not only is the content good, but as a marketer, I'm saying, okay, how do I present this in a way that makes at least 1,000 people extremely happy? So it's finding those people that's the biggest challenge. The people part's the toughest part, but it's also the most rewarding part, because that's what you're also like, that's the value that you're providing. Once you're actually finding people you can provide value to, that's where marketing gets really fun.
Well, that's great info right there, and I'm working on it. I'm very amateur at marketing. After all these years, I still work, and I don't see as much return as I'd like, but I'm working on it.
The tough part about marketing is oftentimes you got to be really creative, and it takes the small guys got to be the most creative, because the big guys will just beat you with budget. Getting really being willing to do some legwork, getting into some groups, getting into Facebook. Facebook has been a great centralizer of great of affinity audiences. Obviously, they have a very robust advertising platform, but even specifically thinking about groups and thinking about, okay, hey, here are people that are really big fantasy fans. Hey, let's toss it out there. Hey, has anyone checked out the Winter Wizard? Has anyone checked out Remnant? Has anyone checked out some of these other big books? Like getting those types of things started. Well, no, I haven't. But what's this book? Like piquing people's interest because of that. That's kind of one of the sneaky way of marketing. But everyone's a marketer. Everyone's an influencer. Everyone wants to make people more like them. So thinking about that and almost like making marketing in a sense saying, okay, I want to make this your idea. It's not my idea that you like this. You're the one that likes it. It's your idea that you like this book. I'm just showing you, hey, I know what you want. I'm going to provide it to you.
Yep. And it's a challenge, but yeah, getting people organically. That's what you're talking about, is finding that organic audience. And that is actually, in social media days, it's hard, because now with the value that social media places on itself, algorithms come into play. And so suddenly you don't get seen because you're not paying them enough, or you're not garnering enough revenue for them. So that's like, I would use YouTube a whole lot more, but I know for YouTube, try and market on there, I've tried, and I simply don't have the algorithm worked out in my favor. Nobody's going to see it. So that's why I stick a lot to Facebook, and then other marketing platforms that already have an establishment. So
everyone's trying to get in front of each other's eyeballs nowadays, and especially when you're playing with some pretty big, you're going up against some bigger budgets and bigger names. It's tough to get out there and to really get some big hits. And to get lots of eyeballs, but it's not impossible. It just takes a lot more legwork, takes a lot more patience than people would expect. A lot of people think that this is still 2011, where everything's still brand new. Not everyone is on social media yet, and so certain advertising strategies are still really effective. And all you have to do is run a decent Facebook ads campaign, and all of a sudden you're getting tons and tons of hits. That's not so much the case anymore. You can't just toss $10 on an ad, and all of a sudden you're going viral. It doesn't happen that way anymore. It may have happened in the early days of Facebook advertising, but today it's one big pay to play project, and it takes a lot more than people would think.
Yep. Okay, we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes, so I think we're good to go here.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for being on here, and
guys, thanks so much.
I'm excited about people getting that book. I said definitely. Here, what is it? Heather? Yeah, Heather, contact me. Give me a private message, and I will get you a code for a free copy of the audiobook. And Brian has another one. Just he'll let me know who gets the next one. And don't forget to leave reviews on that. Talk about it. Talk about the narration of it, and share it around. Let people know about it. As we talked about, I need those 1,000 people. Jeff needs those 1,000 people to start getting that legwork going. Well, guess what? You guys, you just got elected, so you're part of that core now. We need you to share and talk about this as much as you can, and you will do us such a great favor for that right there.
Yes, it really helps. Like the engaging with the content, it goes quite a bit of ways on social media. I will mention one thing, especially on social. If you're a really big fan of Dan's work, there's a way you can go in that you click on the follow, you click on certain areas. You can actually go say, okay, whenever Dan's page posts something, tell Facebook to put it. If I haven't seen it yet, put it at the very top of my feed. Show these posts first. There's a way you can do it on Facebook. I can probably provide Dan some information on that. And yeah, it would really help to get the word out there. If you really care about small content creators, if you really care about small authors and getting authors a good, if you really care about getting authors good promotion, engage with their content on social media early. I know the average age of a Facebook post is about 45 minutes. If it can get a lot of content, if it can get a lot of engagement in that short amount of time frame, then Facebook's gonna let it build up a little bit. People talk a little bit about the highlight reel effect and how you scroll through a Facebook page or your Facebook feed, it's all big life events from everyone else, all these engagements and new houses and babies and all that. The reason that happens is because when people see those types of posts, they automatically like it. Well, for that, like in that same vein, if you really care about these types of this type of content, engage with those posts. Give it a like, give it a comment, share it if you're really passionate about it. We'd love shares. Shares are the most important part about social media.
Yes.
But
Yes.
engage with the content just to show your support, because that does, even that little small amount, helps out a lot.
Yeah. I said that before, and he's absolutely 100% correct, because he knows more than I do. I posted a link to my page on the comments here. So anybody who's not already connected with the page, get connected. That's the first thing. Second thing, as he put it on there, you can have it prioritized. But also, as he put it, like, comment, and share. I post pictures, I post videos, I post stuff about my books, my radio program, anything like that. Just give it a comment, give it a like, and share it. Tag people. Anything you do. That is totally free on your end, and it is absolutely worth a mint on my end. So you're doing me a great favor and helping me get that out there. And you're helping promote Brian and Jeff and all the other people there. So get that going. Get it on there and follow it, like it, share it. Same with Brian's stuff here. This video. That's why I'm always saying like and share, because that helps get the Brian and Dan Hour page more attention, more people, hopefully, to come and watch this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, okay, as I said, we're now about 1:20 after, but we're an hour 20. So we're doing a good long show. But thank you for being here. Thank you for people who have joined in and be part of this, watching. People who watch it after the fact, if you're watching some recording, you still count too. So please like, share, comment, and get involved.
Absolutely.
And if you want Jeff to, or Mr. GG Geist, I can't help it. I call you Jeff.
It's all right. It's completely fine.
If you want him to do any work for you on advertising, on narration, for working on a book or anything like that, or you know somebody who's interested in that, share his Bullion Creative.
Yes,
Share this
Bullion
video.
Creative. So I have a Facebook page. I haven't put much else on social media right now, but bullioncreative.com. I'll leave a link in the comment section to both my page and my the website. But yeah, get in touch with me. I would love to help bring your content to life, whether it's through audiobook narration, whether it's through creating little marketing videos or anything like that. That's my stuff. So I'm more than happy to help you guys out.
Yes, absolutely. And again, if you know anybody who's doing that, who's involved or yourself are, then let them know about that. We lost Brian for a minute there. That you fallen out of your chair for a second.
No. My dog came into the room, so
okay.
Startled me.
So well, thank you for being here tonight, Mr. Geist, and everybody watching. So
yeah, all right, here we go. Oh yeah, I had a couple of things just to say. So next week we do have a guest.
Yay!
I know. So it's gonna be we're going into paranormal. It's October.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
So yeah, and we're gonna be talking to people and authors in a genre that I have never spoken to anyone. And I've been doing this for 6 years, and I've never covered horror of all things, right? Only because I really don't watch it all that much. So it's going to be different. And but yeah, we're starting off with paranormal next week. So I'll be sure to post that. So that's pretty much it, everyone. I hope everyone stays warm. It's getting cooler out now. And we'll see everyone next week for our show. That's it.
My only thing is this: tomorrow I will not be doing my show on Friday because I'm leaving town for the weekend, and so I will not be able to be live tomorrow evening. So tomorrow is another off for me. Next week I should be back, but starting soon, October, I have Motor City Comic Con, which is here in Michigan. I will be participating in, and then I'm going to be at Fanboy in Knoxville, Tennessee. I had a little bit of issue kind of going in, almost had to cancel, but I was able to work it out. So I'm going to be at both of them, which means I'm doing a lot of traveling this month, all over the place selling books. So keep me in your thoughts and prayers. That's a lot of work and time. But also, if you know anybody in these areas, send them over. I want to see them, show my books. I'm going to have Dragon Wand 5 is going to be available at both Motor City and Knoxville. It's coming out. It's finally going to be released on October 15th. I hope to have copies of the Remnant and what was the other books? I've got so many books coming out right now that I'm losing track of them. I got a couple anthologies I'm also going to have that are going to be brand new for Motor City. It's going to be the first time they've ever been in any of my signings. So if you follow me and you do it and you want to find my new books in person, come to me. I've got a whole list of them now. So
there you go. Now that's the week of
Halloween.
Right.
The 15th to the 17th is Motor City Comic Con.
Okay.
And the weekend of Halloween will be Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay. Because I know that we have to move our Halloween show up a week, right?
Yeah. Between Motor City and the Halloween, we're going to have a show in between. It's going to be our Halloween special. So we're going to have fun with that.
Yeah.
So that's,
I'm still planning.
I got a lot of stuff coming up today. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, more information. See?
Yes.
You always think of things at the end when you really want to go, So, all right. But that is it, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend. And Dan and I will see you next week with our guests. So paranormal's coming. So that's what we're looking forward to. Sayonara, people.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for having me on.